I'm on the verge of calling the Miami Hurricanes the Miami Concernicanes, man.
I
The
agree with
last
you.
3 weeks for the Miami Hurricanes have been very concerning. And ironically, this is when they have stepped into ACC play. We see them come into the year, blow out Florida 41-17, blow out Florida A&M 56-9, blow out Ball State 62-0. They wipe South Florida 50-15. But then we talked about Miami Virginia Tech game. They win by 4 in a controversial, what I think was correct, Hail Mary call. They muster a 21-point comeback against Cal, and then they fight tooth and nail to beat Louisville. Only one of these games Miami played at home, and that was against Virginia Tech. So it is a little concerning. It's concerning. Three straight games of ACC play against what felt like much inferior teams. Now we know we know the Louisville game can be a little bit of a rivalry there. We know when you step into SEC play and people have tape on you when you've blown out teams time after time. Like you're gonna have those games or this stretch of games where teams just the tape is like photographic memory for them when they're playing you because they know what is coming. What do you think's been the problem with Miami? And do you think they're going to continue to struggle like this going forward?
I do think they struggle like this going forward because they're only going to have to play outside of Syracuse, and I think Stanford is one of them. Outside of
You
those
got Florida
two,
State, Duke, Georgia Tech, Wake Forest, Syracuse to finish out the year.
right? Florida State, we're not gonna. I'm not even gonna get myself there. We're
Rivalry
not. We're not.
game.
Rivalry game. It does mean a lot, but I don't think I
Yeah.
don't see us winning it now. With Chrome and Hawk and Brock Glenn, I think we could do a little bit better. Had been doing, but I don't see us winning that one. But I want to talk about Duke and Georgia Tech, two potentially dangerous teams. They could upset the apple cart if they push the right buttons. Because to me, like you said, Miami is getting more and more fragile week to week, it seems like. People are getting their number. They're starting to
And
figure
Cam
out what
Ward's
they're
having to put on
about.
that superhero cape every damn week.
That's what I was about to get to. They're relying so heavily on Cam Ward. It's like, all right, at what point does your defense step up and not allow points?
Yep.
You can't put it all on him.
Yep.
Is he a Heisman contending quarterback? Absolutely. Is he a great quarterback? For sure. But you can't rely on him to win games. Now, they could very easily go undefeated. I'm not saying they couldn't with adjustments, but it's going to be too close for comfort like it has been these past 3 weeks, I think, if they do go undefeated. But I do have one of these teams, potentially Duke or Georgia Tech, upsetting that apple cart. Somebody is going to get them eventually. Their luck's going to run out if they don't make the adjustments they need to make. Because you got to play all phases of the game. You can't rely on one guy.
Right.
You can't.
Nope. You can't. I was trying to find the rankings for Miami defensively in the country, but that's the only thing about college football. Trying to find their stats sometimes, just the way they have them lined out, and with so many teams being in the country. But like you said, even if we don't pull the numbers, if we just straight up look at how these games have played out,
just the eye test.
Yeah, exactly. 45 given up to Louisville, 38 given up to Cal, 34 given up to Virginia Tech. It's going up every week. No, not at all. All unranked teams that I personally believe they should have been fine with. Now, again, when you play at teams like Florida A&M, Ball State, and South Florida to start the year, I mean, geez, and then you got Florida State coming in. Geez, just go ahead and let them play the Miami Dolphins while you're at it. You know what I mean? We know that these teams come
they
through.
Beat the Gators already.
Right. You know, these teams already, they come through every year, especially the Miami being that Florida football team. But when you tee it up that way, it's like, okay, yeah, you expect them to roll through things the way that they should. But when you look at the play going throughout, the rest of the year, Duke, Georgia Tech, those can be two sneaky ones. I know the Florida State game, like you said, it's a rivalry game, not getting too much hope into that. But with as fragile as Miami has been lately, it is cause for concern. And,
Mike Norvell hasn't lost to them yet.
Right. Mike Norvell's never lost to Miami. Is this going to be an instance? Right. No, you're correct there. is this going to be an instance where it's like USC from the last couple of years? Caleb Williams, phenomenal. One of the top picks in the draft, Heisman winner, Heisman contender. Solid coach. I got respect for Mario Cristobal with what he's doing this year, and I've respected Mario Cristobal in his tenure. We know he's had a couple of good stops in his career. But no defense. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if this is going to be the story of the Miami Hurricanes, they've got to learn from USC over the last couple of years.
Yeah.
They've got to.
Especially this year.
And I like Miami, bro. I really do. I like Miami as a team because they're high-flying offense. They got a guy in Restrepo who could maybe be the best Miami receiver ever stats-wise. Yeah. Cam Ward doing ungodly things, it seems like. This guy's having an insane season, and I think he wouldn't potentially get the Heisman if Miami does go on a skid.
One of the best Miami QBs I've ever seen.
For sure. And they get one right, which you got to love. Even with Miami's schedule the way it is through the rest of the year, Alan, I'm very concerned about this team going into the playoffs because, again, level of pedigree matters.
Right.
Who you play matters. I know you can only play who's in front of you. I get that. But it doesn't mean that you've been tested enough to go play a top 12 team in college football that's going to be in the rankings. And if you don't win the ACC, you're on the road.
Yeah.
At least for the first round. Or not at least for the first round, but, you're on the road after the second round.
I got them going to the ACC.
Yeah.
I got them going
to the ACC title?
Yeah, I got them going. I got them and Clemson battling it out. But honestly, if Miami does lose, or even if they do win somehow, they're going to face a big dog in the 12 team. They're going to face an Ohio State. They're going to face an Oregon. They're going to face a Georgia. They're going to face a Texas. Somebody like that. And we're going to see what Miami's really about.
Yep.
Providing they don't lose some stupid game in between now and then.
Yeah.
I mean, I hope they lose to us. I mean, I don't care if we win a game for the rest of the season if I could beat Miami, but I don't think that's going to happen.
That'd be a solid dub.
Yeah, it would. We're not going bowling anyway, but
going bowling. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at those top teams, I mean, Oregon, Georgia, Ohio State, Texas, obviously Miami's there. You got Tennessee, LSU, Clemson, they'll probably see beforehand.
Yep.
After that, you're kind of curious. Indiana's looking great. They're undefeated.
Oh, yeah. Iowa State.
Iowa State as well, for sure. And so you've got some of these teams creeping up, Ole Miss as well.
Hungry.
Yeah, absolutely. So, if you don't get that first round bye, you're playing on the road in the playoffs a good bit. And to win 4 playoff games to get all the way to the championship, if you don't get the first round bye, if you're higher up in the rankings, some of those first round teams lose, and you have a chance to get the home field advantage all the way through. But having that be an unknown, knowing how you're playing recently, knowing the level of play you've been putting not only up, but playing against, it's just a little concerning. And again, don't think that I'm a Miami hater. Don't think I've been waiting on the downfall of the Miami Hurricanes. No, I was one of the people before we came into the show this year, and as we've gotten through the year, that this team did a lot. The recruiting class was great. The transfers were great. I mean, Cam Ward was one of the most coveted prospects in the transfer portal, and Miami, out of all teams, landed him, who was a crapshoot last year.
Yeah, we fumbled the bag.
And I love what Cristobal is being able to do, man, to really turn this team around, dude.